I walked into my son's dining room thinking we were celebrating. 2 months ago, I paid off Dominic's gambling debts. $180,000. Every penny I had saved for emergencies. But he was my son, and he swore he'd changed. He promised this was his fresh start. But there was no celebration. I am Vernon Caldwell, and this is my story, and please hit the subscribe button. Dominic sat at the head of the table with his wife Fiona and two men in suits I'd never seen before. My stomach dropped. "Dad, sit down," Dominic said. His voice was cold. Strange. One of the suits pushed papers across the table. "Mr. Caldwell, I'm Attorney Buchanan. We need to discuss your mental capacity." I froze. "What?" "You've been making erratic financial decisions," Fiona said, her voice fake sweet. "Giving away huge amounts of money. Forgetting things. We're worried about you." "These are conservatorship papers," the other attorney said. "Your son believes you're no longer capable of managing your affairs. We have evidence of cognitive decline." My heart pounded. Evidence? What evidence? Dominic wouldn't meet my eyes. "Dad, you paid off debts you couldn't afford. You've been acting strange. Confused. We found you wandering the yard at night talking to yourself." That was a lie. A complete lie. Then it hit me. The debt payoff. They'd waited until my accounts were nearly empty. Now they wanted the rest. My house. My property. Everything. They'd set me up. The attorneys laid out their case like they were reading a grocery list. Videos of me forgetting where I put my keys. Bank statements showing the debt payments marked as unusual activity. Even a letter from my doctor expressing concern. "This is insane," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm not incompetent. I paid those debts to help my son." "Exactly," Buchanan said. "You drained your savings for a poor financial decision. That demonstrates impaired judgment." Fiona pulled out her phone. "We have recordings, Vernon. You forgot our anniversary dinner last month. You called me Jennifer twice. That's not even close to my name. I had called her the wrong name once, maybe. And I'd mixed up the dinner date by one day. Normal mistakes. Things everyone does." "The hearing is in 3 weeks," the second attorney said. "We wanted to give you advance notice out of respect." Respect. The word tasted like poison. Dominic finally spoke. "Dad, this is for your own good. You need help managing things. We'll take care of you." I stood up, my chair scraping loud against the floor. "I don't need help. I need my family to stop lying about me." I walked out. Behind me, I heard Fiona say, "See? Aggressive behavior. Paranoid thinking." They were building a case. And I'd walked right into their trap. I couldn't sleep that night. At 2 in the morning, I drove to my house, the house where I'd raised Dominic, where my late wife Margaret and I had built our life. I still had my key. Dominic didn't know I'd keep coming and going. He thought I'd just roll over. I went straight to my office. The room was a mess. Papers everywhere. Dominic had been going through my files. Then I found it. A folder labeled Windcrest Property, Energy Lease Proposal. My hands trembled as I read. The upstate property, 40 acres I'd inherited from my father, had caught the attention of an energy company. They wanted to lease it for wind turbines. $3.2 million over 10 years. The proposal was dated 6 months ago, right around the time Dominic suddenly showed up crying about his gambling debts. There were notes in Dominic's handwriting. "Dad doesn't know yet. Need to secure before he finds out. Plan. Get power of attorney or conservatorship." My son hadn't come to me for help. He'd come to rob me. The debts were real, but his tears were fake. He'd used my love against me. Made me spend my savings so I'd look financially unstable. Then he'd swoop in, take control, and claim that $3 million for himself. I took photos of everything with my phone. My hands were shaking so bad the pictures came out blurry, but I kept trying until I got clear shots. I had proof. But who would believe me? The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in 5 years. I called my younger brother Wesley. We'd had a stupid fight over Mom's china set after her funeral and hadn't spoken since. Pride kept us apart, but pride didn't matter anymore. Vernon, his voice was surprised when he answered. Wes, I need help. Dominic is trying to put me under conservatorship. Silence. Then what? I explained everything. The debts, the ambush, the property. Wesley listened without interrupting. Come over, he finally said. Bring your financial records. All of them. Wesley lived an hour away. I packed everything into boxes and drove. My brother answered the door looking older than I remembered. Gray hair, reading glasses. But his eyes were sharp. We spent 6 hours going through my finances. Wesley was a retired accountant. He knew what to look for. Vernon, your records are perfect, he said finally. Organized, balanced, documented. There's nothing here that shows cognitive decline. The debt payment was large, but you had the funds. It was a choice, not confusion. Relief flooded through me. So you'll help? I'll testify at the hearing, Wesley said. But I have to be honest. Family testimony doesn't carry much weight. Judges hear sons and brothers defending each other all the time. We need something stronger. Like what? Like proof that Dominic is lying. Hard evidence. I showed him the photos of the property documents. Wesley's face went dark. That son of yours is not just greedy. He's evil. I tried to hire a lawyer the next day. The first attorney, a woman named Patricia Hoffman, listened to my story with a sympathetic face. Then she checked her computer. Mr. Caldwell, I'm sorry, but I can't take your case. Why not? I can pay. Your son already contacted our firm. He warned us you might come in making accusations. He said you're experiencing paranoid delusions and might try to hire lawyers to fight imaginary enemies. My mouth fell open. That's not true. She gave me a sad smile. I'm sure this is difficult. Perhaps you should consider that your son might actually be trying to help you. The second lawyer said the same thing. So did the third. Dominic had gone to every attorney in town, poisoning them against me, making me sound crazy before I could even tell my side. I sat in my car outside the third law office and wanted to cry. I was 67 years old, being treated like a child, like a problem to solve. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Caldwell? This is Nadine Porter. I'm your neighbor. I knew Nadine. She was maybe 45, lived 3 houses down. Always friendly when we passed on the street. I saw your son at your house yesterday, she said. He was measuring the yard, taking pictures. I heard him on the phone saying something about getting the old man out of the way. Mr. Caldwell, I think you should know I'm a court stenographer, and I want to help you. Nadine came to Wesley's house that evening. She brought a notebook filled with dates and observations. I've been watching your property, she said. Not in a weird way. I work from home sometimes, and my office window faces your house. 3 weeks ago, I saw Dominic and Fiona going through your shed. They took out your late wife's jewelry box. My chest tightened. Margaret's jewelry. Her grandmother's ring. Her pearl necklace. 2 weeks ago, they were measuring the property lines. Making phone calls. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard Fiona say, after we get control, and something about selling quickly. Would you testify? Wesley asked. Nadine nodded. Absolutely. I've seen conservatorship abuse cases in court. It makes me sick. But Mr. Caldwell, you need to know, my testimony alone won't be enough. Judges hear neighbor complaints all the time. People thinking they saw something suspicious. You need to prove intent to defraud. You need to show a pattern. The property documents, I said. Dominic's notes about needing conservatorship. That helps, Nadine said. But you need more. You need to catch them in an actual lie. Something undeniable. Wesley leaned forward. What about the doctor's letter? Vernon's doctor supposedly wrote that he's concerned about cognitive decline. Did your doctor do a cognitive assessment? Nadine asked. No, I haven't had one in years. Then how could he write that letter? She smiled. That's your opening. Confront him. Record the conversation if it's legal in this state. It was single-party consent. I had a plan. Dr. Pemberton had been my doctor for 15 years. I trusted him. We'd talked about fishing and his grandkids. He'd helped me through Margaret's cancer. So walking into his office felt like a betrayal, even though he was the one who'd betrayed me. Vernon, he seemed surprised to see me. Nervous, even. I wasn't expecting you. I need to talk about the letter you wrote. The one about my cognitive decline. His face went red. That was a medical opinion based on. Based on what? I pulled out my phone and hit record in my pocket. You haven't given me a cognitive test. Haven't evaluated my mental state. How could you write that letter? Dr. Pemberton sat down heavily. Your son was worried. He asked me to document concerns. For $5,000? He flinched. I guessed, but his reaction confirmed it. Dominic paid you to write a fake letter about me. It wasn't fake, he said quickly. It was expressing concern. Preliminary concern. I thought I was helping you get proper care. By lying. I didn't lie. I just expressed that family members had raised concerns. Without examining me. Without any medical basis. I kept my voice steady. That's fraud, Dr. Pemberton. His hands shook. Vernon, please. I made a mistake. If this gets out, I could lose my license. You should have thought about that before you took my son's money. I'll deny everything, he said, his voice desperate. It's your word against mine. I left without another word. I had the recording. His panic. His admission. It wasn't much, but it was something. 3 days later, a sheriff's deputy knocked on Wesley's door. He handed me papers. Temporary restraining order, he said. You're barred from contact with Dominic Caldwell and from entering the property at 847 Maple Street. My home. My own home. On what grounds? Wesley demanded. Mr. Caldwell's son filed a complaint. Says his father threatened him and is showing increasingly aggressive and paranoid behavior. Another lie. I'd never threatened anyone. The restraining order meant I couldn't go home. Couldn't get to my financial documents, my property deed, my files. Everything I needed for the hearing was locked in that house. And the hearing was in 72 hours. Dominic had timed this perfectly. Waited until the last possible moment to cut off my access to evidence. That night, Wesley and I sat at his kitchen table, defeated. We're not giving up, Wesley said. We have some evidence. The recording. Nadine's testimony. My financial analysis. It won't be enough, I said. You said it yourself. We need something stronger. The doorbell rang. Wesley answered it. A young woman in her 30s stood there with a laptop bag. Uncle Vernon? I'm Eloise. Dad's daughter. I heard what's happening. I barely knew Eloise. She'd been away at college when the family split, then moved across the country for work. I'm a forensic accountant, she said, and I want to help you destroy Dominic's case. Eloise set up her laptop on Wesley's dining table and got to work. She had access to databases I didn't even know existed. Give me Dominic's social security number, she said. I did. Within an hour, Eloise had found something that made my blood run cold. Dominic has been using your personal information to open credit cards, she said, turning the screen toward me. 7 cards in the last 8 months. All in his name, but using your address and information as a reference. For the gambling debts? Wesley asked. No. Eloise pulled up another screen. The gambling debts were real, but these cards were used for cryptocurrency investments. He put $90,000 into a digital coin scheme that collapsed 3 months ago. I stared at the numbers. 90,000. That's on top of the 180 you already paid. He was planning to saddle you with this debt after getting conservatorship. Make it look like you'd been scammed by online criminals. More proof of your declining mental state. Can we use this in court? I asked. Absolutely. This is identity fraud. Financial abuse of an elderly person. But there's more. She typed rapidly. Dominic's been researching conservatorship law for 8 months. I found his search history through a data broker. He's been planning this since before he even asked you for money. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. This wasn't desperation. This was premeditation. Wesley put his hand on my shoulder. We've got him now. But I wondered if it would be enough. The hearing came faster than I wanted. Wesley had found me a lawyer, Colton Burke, a sharp attorney from 2 towns over who Dominic hadn't gotten to yet. Burke presented our evidence. The recordings. Nadine's testimony about Dominic measuring the property. Eloise's financial analysis showing the credit card fraud. Wesley's statement about my perfect financial records. The judge, a stern woman named Judge Morrison, listened carefully. Then Dominic's attorney stood up. Your Honor, we have a neurological evaluation completed 2 weeks ago by Dr. Strand. It shows Mr. Caldwell has early-stage dementia. My heart stopped. I'd never seen Dr. Strand. Never had a neurological evaluation. Burke jumped up. Your Honor, my client never consented to this evaluation. The family requested it due to safety concerns, Dominic's lawyer said smoothly. Dr. Strand observed Mr. Caldwell in public settings and reviewed his medical history with permission from his current physician. Dr. Pemberton. He'd given them my records. Judge Morrison read the report. Her face was unreadable. Mr. Burke, she said finally, this is concerning. The court will order an independent evaluation. However, given the severity of the claims and this medical evidence, I'm leaving the temporary conservatorship in place until the evaluation is complete. Your Honor, Burke started. My decision is final. Next hearing in 30 days. I'd lost. Despite everything, I'd lost the first round. Outside the courtroom, Dominic smirked at me. He'd won, and he knew it. Wesley didn't give up. The next day, he hired a private investigator named Quinn. Quinn was ex-military, quiet, and thorough. This Dr. Strand, Quinn said. Something's off about him. It took Quinn 3 days to find it. Dr. Strand lost his medical license in Nevada 5 years ago, Quinn reported. Falsifying disability claims. He's practicing here under his cousin's credentials. The cousin is real, Dr. Harold Strand. But the man who evaluated you? That's actually Walter Strand, the cousin who got disbarred. Can we prove it? Burke asked. I have documentation. Photos. The real Dr. Harold Strand is currently working in Oregon. He has no idea his cousin is using his name. There's more, Quinn said. Walter Strand is business partners with Fiona's father in a medical billing company. This whole thing is a setup. It was a conspiracy, but proving it in court would take time. Time I didn't have. With the temporary conservatorship in place, Dominic had already frozen my bank accounts for my protection. I couldn't access my pension, couldn't pay Burke, couldn't do anything. Dominic moved into my house, started clearing out belongings, selling Margaret's furniture, and he listed the upstate property for sale. The listing went to a shell company called Windcrest Holdings. Quinn found out Dominic owned Windcrest Holdings through 2 layers of LLC paperwork. My son was trying to sell my property to himself at a discount. Then he'd turn around and lease it to the energy company for millions. I was helpless to stop him. Burke filed emergency motions, but the court moved slowly. Every day, Dominic stripped more from my life. He sold my truck, donated my clothes to charity, threw away Margaret's photo albums, 40 years of memories in the trash. When I drove by the house, I saw him loading boxes into a moving van. My whole life, boxed up and hauled away. Wesley's house became my prison. I was too depressed to eat, too angry to sleep. We'll get through this, Wesley kept saying. But even he sounded uncertain. Then Eloise burst through the door one evening, breathless. I found something. Uncle Vernon, when did you buy that upstate property? I didn't buy it. My father left it to me when he died. That was 30 years ago. And you've owned it since then? Well, not exactly. I tried to remember. 6 years ago, my financial advisor suggested I put it in a trust. For estate planning. In case something happened to me. Eloise grinned. An irrevocable land trust. Yes. How did you? I found the county records. Uncle Vernon, you don't own that property anymore. The trust does. And who's the beneficiary? I thought back. Bailey, Dominic's daughter. My granddaughter. Dominic doesn't know. Eloise said, excitement in her voice. He thinks you still own it. He's trying to sell property that isn't yours to sell. The moment that sale goes through, he's committed fraud. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope. But Bailey was away at college. Unreachable. I didn't even have her number anymore. We need to find her, Wesley said. I'm on it, Quinn replied. We couldn't find Bailey. She wasn't answering her dorm phone. Her roommate said she'd gone somewhere for a long weekend. Meanwhile, Dominic appeared on the local news. I watched from Wesley's couch as my son sat in a studio, looking concerned and caring. Taking care of aging parents is difficult, he told the interviewer. My father is a proud man. He doesn't want to admit he needs help. But when someone you love starts making dangerous financial decisions, giving away life savings, you have to step in. The interviewer nodded sympathetically. And the conservatorship? It was the hardest decision of my life, Dominic said. His voice cracked like he might cry. But I couldn't let him be taken advantage of anymore. There are so many scammers targeting seniors. My father nearly lost everything. What about the property you're managing for him? My ears perked up. The upstate land has been in our family for generations, Dominic said. I'm going to manage it responsibly. Make sure it provides for Dad's care. It's what he would want if he could think clearly. He'd admitted it. On camera. He'd admitted knowing about the property. Burke called immediately. Did you see that? He just contradicted his own timeline. He claimed he only recently became concerned about your mental state. But he's been planning to manage that property, which means he knew about it months ago. Can we use this? Absolutely. It shows premeditation. He's been planning this takeover for a long time. But we still needed Bailey. She appeared 2 days later. Bailey showed up at Wesley's door, fury in her eyes. She was 19, tall like her grandfather, with Margaret's determined chin. I saw Dad on TV, she said. Grandpa, what's he doing to you? I explained everything. The debts, the conservatorship, the property. Bailey's hands clenched into fists. That explains the papers. What papers? 3 months ago, Dad asked me to sign documents. Said it was for financial aid for school. I was in a hurry, so I just signed. But now I'm thinking those weren't financial aid papers. Papers to remove you from the trust, Eloise said. He was trying to make himself the beneficiary. I didn't read them carefully, Bailey said, her voice small. I'm so sorry, Grandpa. It's not your fault, I said. Did you sign them? I signed the first page. Then my roommate called, and I had to go. I never sent them back. Dad kept texting me asking where they were. I kept forgetting. Thank God for teenage distraction. Bailey, would you testify? Burke asked. Tell the court what Dominic tried to do. Absolutely. She pulled out her phone. I have text messages. Dad knew about the trust. He's been asking about it for months. He knew exactly what he was doing. She showed us the texts. Dominic asking about the property. Asking if Bailey had gotten any official mail about it. Asking her to sign papers without reading them. It was all there. Proof of his planning. His deception. We have enough, Burke said. We can file for an emergency hearing. Dr. Yates, the court-appointed psychologist, came to Wesley's house the next week. She was professional, thorough, and skeptical. Mr. Caldwell, I'm going to give you a series of cognitive tests, she said. For 3 hours, I answered questions, solved puzzles, recalled lists of words. It was exhausting. Dr. Yates checked my memory, my reasoning. My ability to make decisions. Tell me about your financial situation, she said. I explained everything. The property trust, Dominic's planning, the fake neurological report. I showed her Bailey's text messages, Quinn's investigation into the fake doctor. Dr. Yates's professional mask cracked slightly. This Dr. Walter Strand. I know that name. You do? I filed an ethics complaint against him years ago when I was practicing in Nevada. He falsified evaluations for insurance fraud. She looked at Dominic's submitted report. This is his work. I recognize the phrasing. He uses the same template for every fake diagnosis. Can you tell the court? I'm writing my report now. Mr. Caldwell, you're one of the most cognitively sound people I've evaluated. Your memory is excellent. Your judgment is clear. You made a choice to help your son. Not a wise choice, perhaps, but a deliberate one made with full understanding. Relief washed over me. But there's something else, Dr. Yates said. This situation, the betrayal, the false accusations, this is elder abuse. Financial exploitation. I'm mandated to report this. Will that help my case? It's going to do more than help. I'm filing an emergency motion with the judge. This conservatorship needs to end immediately. Judge Morrison called an emergency hearing for the following week. The courtroom was packed. Dominic's lawyers tried to block Bailey's testimony. She's biased. She's the petitioner's granddaughter. And the petitioner is my son, I said. Everyone here is biased. Let her speak. Judge Morrison agreed. Bailey took the stand. She was nervous but clear. She showed the texts, explained how Dominic had pressured her to sign away her inheritance, how he'd known about the trust for months. My dad told me Grandpa was losing his mind, Bailey said, tears in her eyes. But Grandpa is the smartest person I know. Dad lied to me, used me. Quinn presented his investigation. The fake doctor, the business connection to Fiona's father, the shell company Dominic created to buy the property from himself. Eloise showed the credit card fraud, the cryptocurrency scheme, the 8 months of planning. Dr. Yates presented her evaluation. Mr. Caldwell is completely competent. The previous evaluation was falsified by a man who lost his medical license for this exact behavior. Judge Morrison's face grew darker with each revelation. Finally, she spoke. I've seen many conservatorship cases, but I've never seen fraud this extensive, this coordinated. Mr. Caldwell, I'm terminating the conservatorship immediately. Furthermore, I'm ordering an investigation into Mr. Dominic Caldwell and his legal team for fraud and elder abuse. The gavel came down. I'd won. Judge Morrison wasn't finished. She granted me an emergency restraining order against Dominic. Mr. Dominic Caldwell is barred from contact with his father and from the property at 847 Maple Street. Sheriff, please escort Mr. Vernon Caldwell to his home and ensure Mr. Dominic Caldwell's immediate removal. 2 deputies drove me to my house. Dominic's car was in the driveway. We found him in the master bedroom, packing Margaret's jewelry into a suitcase. Sir, you need to leave, the deputy said. Dominic's face went white. This is a misunderstanding. It's theft, I said. You're stealing from me. The deputies arrested him on the spot. Handcuffed him right there in my bedroom. Fiona came running in. What's happening? Your husband is being arrested for theft and violating a court order, the deputy said. Fiona grabbed her purse and ran. I heard her car peel out of the driveway. After they took Dominic away, I walked through my house. It was destroyed. Furniture gone. Walls bare. Photos ripped down. In the kitchen, I found garbage bags full of Margaret's things. Her recipe cards, her gardening journals, her mother's quilt. He'd thrown it all away like trash. I sat on the floor and cried for the first time since this started. Wesley found me there an hour later. He didn't say anything, just sat beside me. I got my house back, I said, but it's not home anymore. We'll make it home again, Wesley said. But the damage Dominic had done went deeper than stolen furniture. The next morning, I got a call from the energy company. They were withdrawing their lease offer. The legal battle had made the news. They didn't want the publicity. $3 million gone. Burke filed a civil lawsuit against Dominic, Fiona, their attorneys, and Walter Strand. We sued for conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, theft, and emotional distress. Dominic's lawyers abandoned him to save their own licenses. Walter Strand disappeared. Quinn heard he'd fled to Mexico. Dominic faced criminal charges too. The prosecutor was building a case for elder abuse and fraud. But my son had one more move. He showed up at Wesley's house 3 weeks later. Wesley called me immediately. When I arrived, Dominic was on the porch. He looked terrible. Thin, unshaven, desperate. "Dad, please," he said. "Can we talk?" I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Say what you need to say. I made mistakes. Huge mistakes. But we're family. You can forgive me. Just drop the charges, drop the lawsuit, and we'll forget this ever happened." "Forget?" I stared at him. "You tried to steal everything from me. I was desperate. The debts, the pressure. I wasn't thinking straight. You planned this for 8 months, I said. You used my love for you as a weapon." Dominic's fake remorse cracked. "Fine. You want the truth? That property is worth millions. You were just going to die and leave it to Bailey eventually anyway. I needed it now. I have debts. Real problems. You're old. What do you need millions for?" There it was. His real feelings. "So you thought you'd just take it," I said. "I'm your son. I deserve something after putting up with your boring fishing stories and your cheap birthday presents and your disappointment in me my whole life." Every word was recorded. "Get off my brother's property," I said, "and don't ever contact me again." Dominic left. He'd admitted everything, given me exactly what I needed. The criminal trial moved quickly. Dominic's recorded confession made the prosecutor's job easy. His lawyer convinced him to take a plea deal. Dominic pleaded guilty to elder abuse and fraud. He got 5 years probation, mandatory restitution of $180,000, and a permanent restraining order. The civil suit settled 2 months later. Dominic was ordered to pay $400,000 in damages. Since he didn't have that money, it would be garnished from his wages for the rest of his life. Fiona divorced him before the ink dried on the settlement, took half of nothing, and disappeared. Bailey moved back home to help me put the house together. We repainted walls, bought new furniture, hung new photos. "Grandpa, what are you going to do with the upstate property?" she asked one evening. "It's yours," I said. "The trust says so. But you could dissolve the trust. Take it back." I shook my head. "Your grandmother and I wanted you to have it. That was our choice. Dominic doesn't get to ruin that." "Then I want to do something good with it," Bailey said. "Not wind turbines. Something better." We ended up donating half the land to a conservation trust. The other half we leased to a sustainable farming cooperative. It wouldn't make us millions, but it would do good. And that felt right. I used the settlement money to establish the Margaret Caldwell Legal Defense Fund. It helped elderly victims of conservatorship abuse fight back. Victims like I almost became. 6 months after the trial, I wrote a letter to the local newspaper. I told the whole story. Every detail. The planning, the betrayal, the fake doctors, the fight to get my life back. I wanted other seniors to know what to watch for. The warning signs. The tactics abusers use. The newspaper published it on the front page. Then something unexpected happened. Someone shared it online. It spread to Facebook, then to other sites. Within a week, news outlets across the country were picking it up. I started getting calls from other victims. People who'd been trapped in conservatorship by greedy children, manipulative spouses, or opportunistic strangers. People who thought they were alone. I helped when I could, connected them with lawyers, shared my story, testified at legislative hearings about conservatorship reform. Dominic's betrayal had tried to destroy me. Instead, it gave me purpose. Bailey and I drove up to the property one Saturday in early fall. We stood on a hill overlooking the valley, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. "Are you happy, Grandpa?" Bailey asked. I thought about it. My son was gone from my life. That hurt. It would always hurt. But I had my home, my dignity, my freedom, my granddaughter beside me, and I'd stopped a pattern that could have destroyed other families. "Yeah," I said. "I'm happy." The wind picked up, rustling through the trees Margaret and I had planted decades ago. I'd reclaimed more than my assets. I'd reclaimed myself. And that was worth more than any amount of money Dominic could have stolen.